But those things, you want to talk about heart health, you want to talk about brain health, you want to talk about superfood. So this year, I'm going to grow a bunch of them, and I'm going to figure out how to cook.
Okay.
And I got a recipe book that has a couple recipes
beautiful Thursday morning here on the corner of 21st and Main Street, KABF 88.3 FM. It's a little after 9 o'clock. You heard the music, so it's time for the workplace, exclusively here on KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people, community radio. I'm your host for the workplace, Toney Orr. And as always, my beautiful, fierce, vivacious co-host is in studio, the Reverend Dr. Denise Donnell. How you
Grand
doing this
Rising. I'm
morning?
I'm well. Thanks for asking. Grand Rising humans.
Okay. Like I said, I hope everybody's having a great week. I hope you're having a great morning. Want to get some announcements out the way. First of all, I just want to remind everyone that we are in pledge drive for this month. Your contribution, your donation, and your pledges go to the sustainability of KBF 88.3 FM. For 41 years, we had been a beacon of information here, not only in Central Arkansas, but around the world with our different streaming platforms. Your contributions also help continue for great programming like The Workplace, like Community Voices, and other music related shows here on KABF. Doing Players Drive, we offer a what we call a buy a lot. For $150, you can get 20 60-second spots. There's 20 minutes of airtime for $150. So many people jump on this promo. If you are a business person, an entrepreneur, or you just want to get the information out about your opinions, you can do it for $150. So we just encourage you to continue to support KBF. And I know so many people support us in a lot of different ways by showing up for events and different things. You can also become a sustaining member of KBF 88.3, and you can give your pledge or donation at, you can call 501-372-6119. You can call one of your favorite hosts or DJs at 501-433-0088. You can send a check for money order to 2101 South Main Street here in Little Rock, Arkansas, 72204. You can stop by the station at that same address, 2101 South Main Street, here in Little Rock. You can also, when you go to www.kabf.org, you can give your pledge or donation online, but you can also, once again, become a sustaining monthly member of KABF 88.3. Whatever your donation is, whatever your monthly uh, uh, subscription will be, it is well appreciated. And as I said, it goes to sustainability of KABF 88.3. Before I get into any other announcements, I want to give my co-host Denise an opportunity.
I don't think I have any.
Okay. So FBSS, that's Faith Based Support Specialist Training Conference, is going to be held on February 20, 2026. That's on a Friday. And it's leaders of all faith. It's going to be from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And it's going to be at the Sanctuary at Argenta. That's 201 West 4th Street, North Little Rock, Arkansas, 72214. It's sponsored by the Alabama Department of Mental Health and the Foundation for Opioid Response Efforts. For more information and registration, please call 256-789-5585 or go to fbss.asaprev.com. That's fbs.asaprev.com. And there's limited seating available. So if you want to attend or you want to find out more information, you can give us a call here at 501-372-6119 or call that telephone number once again, 256-789-5585. Pulaski Tech, this is from the University of Arkansas Pulaski Tech. Hey everyone, there's something happening in North Little Rock you might want to check out. The University of Arkansas Pulaski Technical College for Humanities and Arts is presenting country artist and songwriter Keith Anderson as part of his Charts Live performance series. Keith Anderson will perform Saturday, February 28th at 7:30 p.m. at the Charts Theater, located at 3000 West Scenic Drive in North Little Rock. You may know his songs like Picking Wildflowers and Every Time I Hear Your Name. He's also written music recorded by artists including Garth Brooks, George Jones, and Big and Rich. Dinner prepared by UAPTC culinary arts students will be available before the show. You can find tickets and more information at uaptc.edu/charts. That's uaptc.edu/charts, or by calling 501-812-2831. And that's our one other announcement. I almost went past this one. Hey family, quick community note for you. The Central Arkansas Library System and the North Little Rock Public Library System are getting ready for the 2026 Rock Paper Run 5K, which will take place during National Library Week. It's a fun run and walk for all experience levels. This is going down Sunday, April 19th, starting and finishing at the Argenta Library, 420 Main Street in North Little Rock. The route travels through North Little Rock and downtown Little Rock along the river. This event supports library programs and services across our community, and folks are even encouraged to show up dressed as their favorite book characters. More details are available online at rockpaper.org, rockpaperrun.org. That's Little Rock Paper Run 5K with cows in North Little Rock, North Little Rock's supported libraries, literacy, and community. More events listings are available at cows.org. So those are our announcements for this morning. Want to take a minute for a moment of silence. I have two living ups. One stays with me here in Little Rock. The other lives in Chicago. My aunt living in Chicago. Jetty Mae Sprouts passed away last night. She had been on a ventilator for about a week, and the family took her off the ventilator last night, and she passed away. She was 77 years old, had a beautiful spirit, and so just want to take a moment of silence to honor my aunt, Jetty Mae Sprouts. All right, thank you. So, in looking at the news the past few days and looking at certain things and watching how things are playing out in the business sector and in the workplace, there's a lot of changes that's coming. On Tuesday, we had Adam Fogelman, who's running for Pulaski County Treasurer. And one of the things that Denise emphasized on several different occasions, that all roads lead to the ballot box. All roads lead to the ballot box. All roads lead to the ballot box. We're coming up on election season. I think primaries are getting ready to start. Early voting is getting ready to start. So, so now you have these candidates who are all jockeying for office, and along with whoever gets in office, they're going to be able to make policy changes. They're going to be able to make policy. And when you start to look at some of the policies that have started to filter down from the current administration, where it's on a national level or a local level, and you start to see how some of these policies are starting to affect people. One of the policies that they're getting ready to overturn is what President Obama had put in place. It was through the EPA. It was called the Clean Air Act, and the Clean Air Act was put in place because uh, issues with pollution from companies, from car makers, and different things to try to curb the air that we breathe. And one of the things that when you start to look at what's happening in our country and happening in our communities, especially in our Black communities, especially in our poor communities and our marginalized communities, when your resources that you depend on aren't there in a healthy way, it causes more problems. It's the domino effect. If you're not breathing clean air, you're not drinking clean water, you're not getting food, adequate, healthy food, that starts to affect your body. It starts to affect your family. It starts to affect your community. It creates all type of health issues. Another policy that has already been challenged and changed is for vaccinations, immunizations, flu shots, different things like that. So now on one end, you having these policies that are creating an unhealthy environment. And on the other side, you have these policies that are taking away things that can help create a more healthy environment for you. And so I want to talk this morning, it's very important. I believe this is a tipping point here for this country, for this society, and really maybe even for this world. Because as this election starts to play out, as this election starts to grow, either it's going to be where people are going to be able to go and honestly and truthfully vote to make changes, or it's going to be a situation where this administration that we have now is going to suppress or going to stop. And so the question becomes, and we have this conversation all the time, the question becomes, are people willing to go out and vote? Are they going to be so intimidated going back to what would happen? And that's why the EJI tidbits are so important. So many people, Black people who were lynched, who were killed, who were murdered, it happened because they were exercising their right to vote. They were trying to go vote. And when you look at that, there's a correlation, because now if you go to vote and there is intimidation by law enforcement, if there's intimidation by other groups, it's going to be difficult, or people are going to say, no, I'm not going to go because I'm afraid, I'm fearful, or I don't want to have to deal with all this. And so the question going to become, are you willing to push past all of that? In fact, as I was reading the paper today, the Congress has trying to pass another policy, another law that is stated that it's going to make elections more safe and from fraud. Is that now you have to prove that you are a U.S. citizen. Now, the Supreme Court has already struck it down, but they haven't truly dismissed the case. So you have to prove that you're a citizen, but you already have to do that. When you register to vote, you have to present Social Security card, you have to present a birth certificate, you have to present these things to get registered to vote. So now it's like, it's almost like they're telling you, they're trying to do it, but you already do it. So those are the things that we have to start looking at as we go forward in this election season. And once again, the question becomes, are people willing? Are there going to be people willing to look past all those obstacles to say, I'm going to vote anyway? Those obstacles are put there to keep you from voting. And so if things are going to change, or it's going to be if we want things to look different, then we are going to have to do the things that's required to help make it look different. Denise?
Hotep is on the line. Hotep, I see you wishing us life, prosperity, and health. Well, I was thinking about systemic racism, systemic, just how, again, to connect the dots. And when you were talking about not having clean water, not having healthy food, and you talked about how that affects your body, it also affects your mind. And so we've already criminalized mental health in this country. And so when people do not have the proper nourishment for their bodies and their minds, then they respond in ways that could signal some brain health issues, which now gives the people in power right now permission to incarcerate you because you are exhibiting brain health issues that they have now criminalized. And so all of it is working together, in my opinion, is one big old machine that is working on all cylinders to make sure that we end up captive and bondage, in bondage some kind of way. And I don't think we really realize how much power we lack outside of our own mental selves. Like, because like I say this all the time, like I'm the freest person I know. And even I have to be worried about being captured because I'm driving as Black and things like that. So I think that we also talk about, when we talk about voting, like it's not just who's going to be Pulaski County Treasurer, right? It's not just who's going to be on the school board. It's also who is going to be in office that will help liberate me on all levels, not just in the political realm.
Yeah, and when you start to look at and sometimes people don't connect the dots, and and sometimes I'm complicit in that because I'm looking at right here. I'm looking at the space that I'm standing in now, and I'm not looking at the space that I'm going to step into 5 minutes from now or an hour from now or whatever. I'm not looking. I'm not looking as they said. You're not looking at the bigger picture. Because all these things, when you start to look at them, connect your environment, your health, education, food insecurity, healthcare. All of these things are connected. They're not, well, I think sometimes we look at these as separate entities, but they're not. They're all interconnected. And to give you an example, so, especially in the Black community, because when you start looking at birth, the birth of Black children. Caller, you're there. Caller,
Good morning.
good morning.
Yes, yes, I'm calling about you say mental health. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, mental health. The one that is mental health is accepting a lie, living by rules of a lie, goes against the brain of our being. And we keep listening to lies and lies and lies. Now you got this spinning round and round in your head like you're going by the circle. And it's causing a lot of problems. If you don't have good mental truth, then that's a fool part of being the whole health of the person. But it's something else I want to we are raised in a society. We got a Bible, we got teachers. We start off with Genesis. You got two different versions in Genesis chapter 1 and chapter 2. Now, it's impossible for there to have be Adam and Eve according to the mathematical population of the planet. Now, one who want to be there and keep everything in existence consists of atoms. All atoms have male and female parts in it. So we like to right off the top about the Bible. If there was no Adam, then it wasn't none of the rest of the people neither. Now people can teach what they want to teach. I'm not arguing with nobody. I heard that I'll be arguing with people. I'm not talking bad about nobody. And another thing, it tells, say, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days will be long upon this place. You white people come from out of black people. We are you all, mother and father. You are the one going to get destroyed off the planet if you don't straighten your ass up. And thank you.
Thank you, Colin. You know, the one thing that, one of the greatest things that you can do, and I learned this from Solomon, is that you can always learn. When you shut your mind off from learning, and going back, yeah, and like I said, I learned this from Solomon, and I learned it from Denise, is that I'm going to present an alternate theory, or I'm going to present something to you. It does not matter whether you agree with it, whether you believe it or not. It's just something to think about, or something different. You can believe what you want to believe, but could there be another possibility? I love watching uh, crime shows where the investigator or will say, "Let me offer an alternative theory." You know, it does not mean that it did that what we're investigating or we're looking at didn't happen the way we think it, the way it seems like it happened. But could there be something else that could have happened also? And so when people talk about, there's always been this discussion between uh the Bible and creation of human beings and Darwin theory of evolution, that human beings develop like this. It really doesn't matter. You can believe whichever theory you want to believe. But if you don't take the time to think about the other theory, then I think you're not, I think you lose out. I think you're not taking I think you're not opening yourself up for the full measure. You're not, as I say, you're not connecting the dots. And before the caller call in, I want to talk about, when you talk about mental health, he started off talking about mental health. So we understand in the Black community suffers more than any other race in this country or in this world when it comes to healthcare. So if you don't have good water, like in Flint, when you don't have good water, or you have lead in the water, you don't have good air quality. You live in apartments, or you live in homes that have asbestos and all these different things. That begins the process of creating mental things. How I want to say it. That begins a process that could affect the child that's being born, their mental and their physical well-being. So now you have a child that's born that, remember, the mother is the everything that mother is doing, everything that mother is breathing, everything that mother is eating. Whether it's all these different things go into that child. So now this child is born. It's already born in an inadequate environment most of the time, majority of the time. Inadequate environment. It's being born with these pollutants that the mother has been subjected to. Now this child is born, and this child, because of these things, we know lead leads to anxiety in children. We know when a mother does not have the nutrition, it decreases the true development of that child. And now that child is born. That child is born into a place where that education is not going to be truly provided on a level that child needs. You're taking away early head start. You're taking away all the programs that this child needs to survive, or this child needs to grow healthy. And it keeps going. And the lack of these things help facilitate mental illness. Then you throw in help me out, systemic race, institutionalized racism. You add that in. You add in the pressures of being a Black child. And remember, when we talk about these EJI tidbits, in this country, you can be a Black child, especially a Black male child. You could be 6, 7 years old and you do something, they don't call you. If you go before the courts, if you go before juvenile courts, they don't call you this young boy. They call you this young man. You know, and which means that they're looking at you like, oh, you can make decisions as a man, but no, you are a child. And children will do certain things that should not be prosecuted for. It used to be when I was in school, you could get in a fight, you go to the principal office, you may get detention, you may get other things, and that's it. Now you get in a fight at school, no matter at what grade level, they want to call the police and have you arrested for assault. So all these things play into this mental illness. All these things play into this unhealthy environment. All these things play into how the community is being shaped, and the people who are elected to office, going back to what you said, Denise, it's not about just because you're in this office. It's not about the policies that are going to be created. What are you going to do to help facilitate the growth of my community and the growth and the health of me?
Yeah, when the caller said something about we believe in so many lies, we've been taught so many lies, we believe in the lies. And then you were talking about how people don't take the time to delve deeper. I heard Pat Ward yesterday on her show. She was talking about that too. Like, we need to learn how to delve deeper and look into these things and ask the critical questions about where is the rest of the money? How was it appropriated, and those kinds of things. But in my own life, one of the things that I got this from my father. I am my father's. I told somebody the other day, they usually say mama's baby, daddy's maybe, but on the other side, I'm on the other side of that. I know I'm my daddy's baby. Well, one of the things that my daddy taught us, and me in particular, I really grabbed hold to it, is that there's no need to lie. Like, I don't like lies. I do not lie. I don't like people who tell lies, and I especially don't like people who tell lies for no reason at all, just volunteer lies. But one of the things that I've noticed about my own life in telling the truth all the time, people do not want to believe me when I tell the truth. And then I'll say something like, oh, okay, well, let me say this. And I'll say something different. And they'll be like, oh, okay. So they'll I'm telling you the truth. You don't want that. But the lie that I tell to pacify you, those that I do that with, just for the sake of argument, that's what you want to hold on to. And so part of what's happening, or what has been happening in this world, especially, and the caller also talked about the Bible and religion. The Bible is written on a 12th grade level. The King James Version of the Bible, which most people, especially Black people, most people prefer, is written on a 12th grade level and is translated by a man who was same gender loving, gay, homosexual, all the stuff that these same Black people say that they are against. But the world that we live in, the stuff that they present to us, is written on a 6th grade level. And then they've already dumbed down a lot of what we read. And then they've given us this social media where now everything is compacted for us. Like, you only want 10 minutes of this. You only want 15 seconds of this. You only want 90 seconds of that. Like, everything is in small bits and pieces. And then they're giving you TV where you're only looking at shenanigans, even if it's politics. They only call your attention to those things that are like bait click. Like, they're trying to arouse your emotions so that you can live in that space of not thinking through what's happening. So the world is designed for us to be stupid. And so some of us have decided I'm not gonna be that way. But then when we run into some of y'all who have decided to be that way, now we got a problem communicating because you don't want to hear the truth. So it really is a conundrum that we're in where we have to decide for ourselves, who are you going to be outside of what the world tells you? Stop listening to the lies, stop listening to the narratives that are false, and examine yourself and see who you want to be and how you want to show up and walk in that vein. Then maybe we'll get somewhere.
Yeah, and two things I would have that you mentioned that I want to bring up is when you talk about the Bible being written on the 12th grade level and then on dummy down. One of the policies, one of the laws that was passed during the last session was about the ballot. It was like it's crazy about uh uh what they call it, public participation on ballot initiatives that here in Arkansas, you as the public, as citizens, can come up with a ballot initiative to get to be voted on. So it states that the ballot, and I want it, and I want to be, I want to get this right. It said that it has to be. It's either you have to, the language has to be on an 8th grade level or a 3rd grade level in order for in order for it to get on approved by the Secretary of State. It has to be written on the same level. I want to say 3rd grade level, but it may be 8th grade. And they look at the words of the ballot initiatives. And if it's not written, if they feel like there are words that are above that grade, above that level, then you can't use it. You have to go back and rewrite it. So basically, it's saying that your ballot initiative has to be on the level that so low that I don't know if they want to say that anybody can understand it, but I think that's that's you taking away to me, or you showing that people in Arkansas, you have to be almost dumb to read or understand this. If you're educated, then it's almost like we don't want you. We don't want you. But we the people who are I don't know how to phrase this, but it seems like that you're too dumb to understand the language if that you can't understand it, and I think that's a disservice to a lot of people. Another thing, when you talk about television, for those of you who ever watched the movie Gladiator, there is a scene where he's fighting, he's in this arena and he's fighting for his life all the time. He has to win these battles. He's fighting, it's killing, it's just blood and gore everywhere. At the end of one, he looks at the people who are clapping, who are shouting his name, and he throws his sword up towards those people. In his mind, he thinks they're going to be mad at him. He yells at them, "Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?" And he starts to walk away, and they start cheering. It reminds me that so many of us are looking for entertainment. We look at the news as entertainment. And I'm complicit in this because, I have been complicit in this because I'm starting to pull back away from watching CNN, MSNBC, and ABC News. I'm pulling away because you get caught up in the entertainment. You get caught up in all this. Because if I can entertain you over and don't get me wrong, Jeffrey Epstein all these different things, these tariffs, all this, yeah, they're important. But if I get so caught up in entertainment, oh, what is the president going to say next? What is Homeland Security going to say next? Then you miss out on what's important. We're in the arena. We, the so-called people, in the arena, and we're fighting, killing, murdering, each other. And now you have policies that's killing and murdering us too. But at the end of the movie, what the issue was not, he said we need a power structure that's going to be for the people, that the people have to rule, that the people have to have a say so. It can't be these people who don't care about you. And I think that's the one thing that we lose sight of. We think even if you vote for a certain person, is your hope that this person is going to look out for you, that this person has your best interests at heart. But most of the time, it does not play out like that, because power is intoxicating. And the more power you get, the more intoxicating it becomes.
I was thinking about the Gladiator, not the movie, but when I went to Rome and I went to the Colosseum, and the guide was there. I always I want to hear all the stories, so I take the guided tours. And so the guy was talking about not just the fact that the gladiator is an enslaved person, right? And so the gladiator is in slavery, in bondage. And so when you say, well, the gladiator is fighting for his life, because he's fighting to stay alive, first of all, but also to make sure that his master, the person who owns him, is pleased with his performance, right? And so so the God was talking about that. The God also talked about the fact that when the time comes for the gladiator to no longer be in the arena because it's time for them to retire, or they're too old, or too main, whatever the reason is, they are still at the liberty of the owner to decide how they die and what their afterlife looks like according to their own belief system. And so you're a slave the whole time you are fighting, and you are a slave in death. And what we don't seem to realize is that same framework is happening right here, right now, in this world that we're living. I ain't talking about no movie. I'm talking about the fact that we are still in bondage in our minds, in our bodies, in our employment, all of these spaces where we are being controlled by a narrative that only wants to exploit our bodies for their gain. And then they want to tell you how to die. If you tell something, when I talk about my parents being cremated, Black people in particular act like it's a sin. Oh, you ain't supposed to be cremated. But the Bible you say you believe says ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Capitalism has told you that you need to be in a coffin. They take your money, your insurance money, when you try to go and get somebody buried. We're not paying attention to what we are listening and what we are believing. We're not paying attention to what's happening. And so when somebody says, they call it committing suicide. Osiris called it, the new term is self-transition, so that we can take the stigma off of it. Then when you hear somebody that has people still know the word suicide, we say self-transition. When somebody does it, you don't even want to say it out loud. You don't even want to put it in the obituary, because you don't want people to shame somebody for having the audacity at some point to say, now I'm going to control my body. At what point are you going to fight for your own control? When are you going to say enough is enough? That's what because people keep telling me, Denise, you think too much. Denise, you too heavy. Everything you read is heavy. Everything you think is heavy. All stuff you talk about is heavy. You know what? I would rather be heavy than as light as we are in this world today. Somebody else, come with me. Let's get heavy together.
Yeah, and even when one of the biggest things, one of the biggest lies that's out there is this idea that you're better than this person, period. Based on your skin color, based on your money or whatever, you're better than this person. You're better than this Black person. No matter how bad your life is, you're better than this Black person. Or you're better than this Hispanic person. Or you're better than this Jewish person. But in reality, when you think about it, the power structure that Denise just talked about back with the gladiators, that power structure and that framework is still in play. So you might not look at yourself based on your skin tone as being, or based on your wealth. You may not look at your, I'm not a slave. I'm not in bondage. But you are, because you still got to breathe the same air. You still don't have the adequate health care you need. You still don't. You're still not getting you're still food insecure. You still, especially here in Arkansas. Yes, you are in that arena too. And you are right about one thing. It. Oh my God. A friend of mine, not too long ago, I think last year, transitions, and his family was telling me about the funeral cost. And when they said $15,000 for a funeral, can you just imagine? Just imagine what that family could have did for 15 grand. But that's how you got to pay when you live in, then you got to pay when you die. That's that we have to start thinking differently. And like I said, I'm complicit because there was a time that I thought I knew some things. I'll be honest with you. I thought I knew some things. And that's why me and Denise, that's why we have our arguments and our difficulties, because I think you can't tell me nothing. But then when you start having these conversations and you resist it, you resist the conversation, you resist the information, you resist the truth. And now, because you're doing that, now there's not even an opportunity to get your mind free, to get yourself free. But once you start to look at it and you start to think about then you can say, you know what? And was having a conversation yesterday with Denise and so forth. Yes, sometimes me and Denise do talk off. Sometimes we do talk, off the air. Not often, but off the air. Sometimes we do talk. And one of the things we had the conversation, part of the conversation was about emotion and logic, feelings and logic. And I really started to delve into those two things. There are some things that if you look at in a logical way, you would say, this don't make no sense. But if you look at it in a feeling way, you can overshadow the logic and say, well, let me take this call. Call you on there.
Hello?
Hey,
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you, caller.
Yeah, one quick thing I would like to say. Most, but I have to talk about my people. We living in a, what I would call a comfort of ignorance. And we are ignorant, we seem to be comfortable with it. And don't want to come to the knowledge themselves to come out of it. We got the Bible, our universe, the Bible, we bring you out of this mess. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, caller. And let's face it, we do like our country. We do like our convenience. And that's nothing wrong with that. If that's who you are, that's just who you own it. But you still have to be able to deal with the consequences of that. There's some things you're gonna have to deal with because that's just who you are. You know, and to me, I think a lot of times we end up complaining about some things that we can do something about, if we change our mindset, our attitude, and we'll open our minds up to be educated and to learn. And when you don't do that and you stay where you want to be, and then it's difficult to complain about other stuff, when you're not willing to change on your side.
Yeah, so I disagree with you when you say that you just are who you are. Like that's what people tell you, and you say stuff like, "Yeah, that's just how I am." But you don't have to be that way.
Right.
Whatever way you are, you don't have to be that. That's one of the beautiful things about being human is that you have an opportunity to change your mind. You have an opportunity to change your behavior. You have an opportunity to change your location. You have an opportunity. So you're making a choice to remain where you are because it's comfortable to you. But if part of why I think that people are not able to shift in their mindsets and shift in their behavior is because you surround yourself with people who think the same way you do. Until something happens outside of what your thoughtfulness, your intellect, your intellectual framework, unless something comes along to challenge it or to destroy it or to give it impact it in a way that causes you to rethink things, then you're not going to. So some of us need to pay attention to who we listening to, who's in your circle. Some of us need to start all over. Just knock everybody down. Look, I'm going on sabbatical or whatever you want to call. I'm going into exile. I want to get away from everybody and let me sit with myself. And as I learn more about myself, then I know I want to have people around me who can help me think, not people who gonna tell me stuff like, "Girl, we don't want to think when we go out." What? I'm gonna think everywhere I am.
Yeah, you're right. Um, Judge Wendell Griffin on one of his shows I was listening to one time. He said one of the most painful things that most people have to do is to think. You know, I think one of the things that happen, I believe one of the things that happen is that sometimes you get so bombarded, you get so overwhelmed, you have to deal with so much. And I'm like this. People would ask me, "What you thinking about?" And I said, "Absolutely nothing. In this moment, I ain't thinking about nothing. I'm just too tired of thinking." Now, that moment lasts for that moment, but then you have to get back. It's okay. Let me start thinking about this. And I think there's a lot of people, I've talked to a lot of people who are in the same vein with me, that we're trying to do better, that you have to think. You have to think ahead. You have to think going forward, because Carl, you're there.
Yeah, peace and love, y'all. Brother Solo being here. I was just thinking about what you were saying this morning, and I know, and a lot of people don't know, that we are in a war. The whole world is a battle zone when it comes to racist woman and racist man. I know a lot of people don't like to hear about the supremacy part of it, but they have so much control around the world, and as long as this system is in place, and we are really, like I say, in a battle zone. But if you have hands, feet, hearing, eyesight, think about what it would be like to not have any of them. So I say we have to really count our blessings. And like I say, in that way, we are healthy and wealthy. And everywhere, all the time, some situations are better than others. And we have to try to put ourselves into a better situation and use it to make situations the best. You know, when I say good, better, best, never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best. This applies to all of us, especially when we are in the situation where we are in a silent war in this territory, but in a lot of territories, they are all out killing. Like I say, good, better, best, never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best, but make the best out of your situation or whatever it is. Because, like I say, when they try to, well, I ain't gonna get down on it because it's pretty depressing to see the situations that we're in, but we got to make the best out of all our situations. Do whatever it takes and try to make it a better situation. Again, peace and love to all.
But
I think
I also think that that's the problem, that we accept what it is and say, oh, well, and then we start lying about it. Well, the Lord, this the Lord's will for my life, or this just my thorn in the flesh, or oh, this is just the way it is. I'm not going to say I'm at war, but let me figure out how to make the war the best it can be for me. That don't even make sense to me. If you continue to tell yourself stuff like that, oh, there's a way we can make this situation work, then you are not raising up to fight. If you are in a war, it ain't time to rest. It ain't time to make nothing better. It's time to fight. It is time to dismantle. It is time to go for the jugular. That's what it's time to do. And so that's where we are now. When we get the victory, then we'll rest.
one of the things, I've got a couple minutes left. One of the references that I like to use is the French Revolution. And if you ever read the book or you ever delve into the history of the French Revolution, how it got there, one of the phrases in the book by Alexander Dumas is said, it's the best of times, it's the worst of times. It's called The Tale of Two Cities. It's the tale of two worlds. It's the tale of two worlds. You got on one side, the best of times for people. They think this is the best. I'm living my best life. But on the other side, you got people who are like, this is the worst. This is where we are. On that other side, those people who looked and the French Revolution had all ethnic groups. They had all these ethnic groups that revolted. Black, white, Persian, Arabic, Muslim, Christians. It was all of them who said, you know what? What do we have to lose if we rise up against those who say it's the best of times? They got what we need. They got our resources. They got our water. They got our land. They taxing us like crazy. They're killing us with no health care. What do we have to lose? Let's rise up. And I agree with you, Denise. It has to come a point where the worst, and when I say the worst, I'm talking about, all these people who think they got it going on. No, you don't. That's what you're told and that's what you believe, or that's what they're trying to get you to believe. But you're still dealing with the same things that everybody else is dealing with. So it has to be a moment where you say, let's rise up and let's change some things. Hey, it's 10 o'clock. Great show. I enjoyed it. Okay. You want to take this one last call?
You can if you want to.
Call you on there. Caller. Hello.
Good morning. My name is Kylie. I'm reaching out because
Hey, you know what? You need to tell me, we talking all this and then we get a scammer.
I tried to say.
And you tried to tell me. Hey, thank you for listening to the show. And hope you have a great rest of your day. Denise, any final words?
If we want to live in a world that is more inclusive, that is more peaceful, that is more equitable, that is more just, we are going to have to learn how to live and love differently.
When you heard that straight from the Reverend Doctor.
You can call me Denise.
Just thank you, Denise. Thank all the callers for calling in. Remember, we're in Players Drive this month. Your pledges, your donations go to the Sustainability KABF 88.3. Tune in on Tuesday for Community Voices, next Thursday for the workplace. So, like I said, enjoy the rest of your day and thank you for tuning in.